Whew, man. Hey guys, Jake here. I have had a very, very emotional week. Now, I'm recording this day, like maybe even like a week and a half to 2 weeks prior to when you guys are watching it. It is currently August 16th, so I know that you guys are watching this, like almost probably are watching it 2 weeks in advance, and the reason for that being, this whole week from like the 10th, I believe, from the 10th to the 18th, has been a major emotional roller coaster, and just on my end and with what I'm doing, just everything, I guess, just going on. So it's been a really huge roller coaster, and around the first week of September, I'm actually going out of town for 2 weeks, so I won't be back until, in all honesty, I won't be in full swing when it comes to videos probably until mid-September, like the 16th, 15th, that beginning week, I guess, like after the weekend of the 15th, I should be back in full swing. So I'm recording all these videos, and I've planned them out. The one that just came out today, as in the time of this recording, was the Waluigi fanboys and fans video, which released for you guys on August 16th. So yeah, that's what day it is for me. For you guys, you're watching this on like the 30th or something, or maybe the 29th. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, but I'm basically recording videos and uploading them, as the weeks go on by. So I don't want to go too far ahead, because then the content will get stale and just irrelevant and stuff. But I think I should have a pretty good understanding or a pretty good grasp about what I'm going to be talking about today. So originally, I wanted to do this video with a friend of mine who's been on the channel multiple times, KG Ghost. His actual name's David. I call him David in a lot of my videos, but that's his, I guess, tag, whatever you want to call him by. But yeah, so I really wanted to have David on for this video, and we were planning to do it, and then we just never really fell through with those plans. We never got together. We never really, had that phone call where we recorded. Just for me, I have not had time this weekend at all. I know that he has started school, and his school screwed him over with their school system and stuff. So we've just both been busy, and we've kind of put it under the rug. So I'm just recording this by myself, but I would have loved to have had him. And I'm sure he's watching this now, just because, this is Persona related, and that's his thing, right? But yeah, so unfortunately he's not here in this video. Wish he was. But yeah, anyway, we're going to be talking about Persona Q2, the information that we've been getting, the trailers and everything else. So we've seen not a whole lot of really like gameplay clips and stuff, but we've seen enough to kind of, I would say, get an analysis of a few things that were, I guess, specified, not by a whole lot of people, but just was made clear in the trailers, was that all the characters from Persona 5 are more than likely going to be in their costumes at all times whenever they're in a dungeon. We see a cutscene with the new Janucci, I believe that's his name, with the Janucci trailer that came out today on August 16th, where he was talking to all the other characters, and he talked to Skull at one point, the blonde-haired kid from Persona 5, Ryuji. He talked to Ryuji at one point, and Ryuji was in full costume. So, I mean, it's just small details like this we've seen and we've noticed. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't really care about Persona Q2 at all. The only thing that they're interested about is that the female Persona 3 protagonist, which wasn't in Persona Q, is now going to be in Persona Q2, which I think is pretty cool. I've never played Persona 3 or Persona 4. I've only played Persona 5 and Persona Q. So I'm a bit wishy-washy when it comes to my understanding of the game and all of the characters and everything else. But through my friend David, who, again, I was not able to have on this video, I know the basis of everything. Like, I know that Persona 3 is revolved around facing your fears via suicide, and then Persona 4 is with the cards and stuff, and then Persona 5 is, the palace and steal your hearts and everything else. So there's a different theme per game, and I understand that. I grasp it. I know that Persona 3 has the whole Tartarus thing. I know that Persona 4 has, Persona 4 has the Midnight Hour or the Dark Hour, or no, it was the Dark Hour in the Midnight Channel. So yeah, just little bits and pieces I know about. I don't know about anything, specific with, everything that happens in those games, because there's a lot of content in just about every Persona game. But yeah, oh, I just threw my earbuds. Whew, okay, but yeah, yeah. To wrap it all around, I know enough to kind of get a collective idea of what Q2 is going to kind of look like. So one thing I do want to point out, and this is what interested me the most. So Persona Q itself is based on a labyrinth. Each different world that you visit is a labyrinth with these FOE monsters things. Well, they're monsters. They're giant monsters, but they're called FOEs, which isn't not an anagram, but it's a thing for the word foes. For whatever reason, the characters don't call them foes; they call them FOEs. But yeah, they're these big obstacle monsters that, I mean, if they catch you, you just have to battle them. They are defeatable, but they're extremely, extremely just higher level than you would be at that point in the game. So they prove very challenging, and it's a wise idea to not pick a fight with an FOE. But I don't think we saw any FOEs in the trailers for PQ yet, which is something that David and I went over in the initial thoughts and discussions video that we did when Persona Q2 was first announced. I asked him all these questions concerning Persona Q and Persona 5, and how those two games would bleed into Persona Q2. And FOEs were one of the things that we talked about. So I don't remember seeing any of the FOEs in the trailers that we've gotten up so far, up to Janucci. I really do think that's his name, but I can't help but shake that feeling that I'm wrong, and I probably am. But yeah, so I didn't see any of the FOEs up to that point, or maybe we did see one, we just haven't, realized that it's an FOE yet. They did reveal that Akechi is going to be in the game in some way, shape, or form. I don't think they showed him in a cutscene. It was just the animated bit where, like, he's spray painting, which isn't really Akechi's thing. Akechi is this, high school detective. He's basically the Batman, but he's evil. So it's kind of weird to see him spray paint, but because I never played Persona 3 and Persona 4, I didn't have the perspective going into Persona Q that a lot of these characters were just kind of like washed up, cut out, or yeah, like washed out, cookie cutout versions of themselves. Like, I know that the one character from Persona 3, they made him in Persona Q obsessed with proteins, where in his initial game, he doesn't really, I mean, yeah, he's into proteins, but he's not like constantly bringing it up. The version of him in Persona Q constantly brings it up. So, I mean, this may just be one of those effects on Akechi with him spray painting, but I don't really see how that relates at all. That's not the thing I was going to bring up. The thing that I was going to bring up was that in that video, we talked about what we kind of assumed the next couple of, we assumed what the thematic overall theme, I guess if you want to say, the thematic theme of Persona Q2 would be, because Persona Q was a labyrinth. You were going through this labyrinth, and each labyrinth was inspired by something different. The first labyrinth was inspired by Alice in Wonderland. The second was Valentine's Day, where basically you had to run away from all these cupids, and yeah. So the third one, which is the one that I got to, I believe, was it was a high school medic room, something like that. Like I think the first couple of floors in that dungeon were just regular high school rooms, but by the final floor, which is where the boss was, it was like a high school medical room, like the nurse's office kind of thing. And then there was a hot spring one that I never got to, or maybe I did get to that one. But yeah, so there was quite a bit of diversity between each and every one of these mazes, but that's what they still were. They were all mazes. They were all labyrinth. So one of the things that David and I talked about was, do we think that it's still going to be labyrinth-based, or do we think it's going to have some other theme to it? So I brought up the idea of it being kind of like stories, and now I specifically did say fairy tale, because the whole Alice in Wonderland thing kind of did inspire me to specifically say fairy tale. I thought of fairy tale as in like, like they'll do a Cinderella themed world, they'll do a Snow White themed world, they'll do a Hercules, kind of like, and I know that those are all Disney properties, but I'm just talking about these fairy tales in general, like Jack and the Beanstalk. That's not Disney. Well, Disney made a book on it, but you know what I mean. So just things like that, is what I kind of assumed. Now, what they did end up doing is they went in the direction of fictional tales. They went in that direction, but they did it in movies. So one of the ones that we did get to see was kind of a Jurassic Park or a Jurassic World-esque dungeon, or I mean, we just saw it through a few cutscenes and stuff. But yeah, we saw this Jurassic World looking place, which is super cool because, you know, I was half right. I got the whole fictitious tales right. I just didn't get the ballpark right. I was on the right base. I just was in the wrong ballpark. But yeah, so what I'm trying to think of, like, what else for, you know, normally I have a script and stuff, but for this I just kind of went into it heads first. So but yeah, so I don't think there really was. I mean, we did see a cutscene of you fighting Rin, I believe his name is, from, I think it's Rin from the manga, and they changed it in the anime. I forgot what they changed it to the anime, but I believe that the Persona 5 protagonist's name in the manga, which is not canon to the game, but a lot of people consider it canon to the game, his name is Rin. In the anime, they changed it to something else, and a lot of people didn't like it. They prefer Rin, which I personally prefer too. But yeah, so Rin is fighting you from Persona 4, and that's not like talking about you in the second person, but just a YU, that's his name. So yeah, you is fighting Joker, aka Akira. Or no, it was Akira, not Rin. It was Akira in the manga, and it was Rin in the anime. That's right. Sorry, yeah. Whew, I just had a brain fart, and I just fixed myself there. That's super cool. But anyway, yeah, so you is fighting Akira, and that's not something that we really was expecting, because, you know, you figured that they'd be friends and stuff. But I really am curious to see, like, what kind of leads up to that fight, because I'm sure that that's early game stuff, kind of like how we saw the meeting of the Persona 3 and the Persona 4 cast in Persona Q. But in that game, too, I believe Zen. I believe Zen and Rei, I think were their names. They would actually start the game with whatever party you chose, rather than the canonical one. I don't know what the canonical one is. I think it's just whichever one that you pick. But I do remember, because I picked the Persona 3 protagonist, just because I never played 3. I never played 4 either, but I knew a lot more about 4 than I did about 3. So I played through the 3 cast, and I'm pretty sure I remember having Zen and Rei in my party. And then, you know, at the end of the first dungeon, you get, the other cast joining your team. So, but this is going to be a huge cast game. Like, I forgot how many specific characters we had in the last game, but it was a lot. I mean, like, each of these Persona games already has a handful of characters that you can play with in their initial games. Like, in Persona, I know for a fact 4 and 5, like, you have not an overboard of characters, but you have, like, a good amount, and you can only use 4 at a time. So it's like, if you really want to, you know, equivalate all your characters, you have to rotate them out, and you have to, you know, spend an equivalent amount of time with them in specific dungeons to level them up. And then you have the whole social link aspect, which I won't even go into, because that's not necessarily a dungeon crawling perspective, and I know that's arguable for Persona 5. But yeah, so in Persona 4, or excuse me, I forgot where I was going with that. I'm tempted just to kind of like stop the recording and then backtrack, but it's whatever. Whew. But, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of remembered. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, so this is really going to be a huge Persona spin-off game with as many characters as there is. That's what I was talking about. But yeah, so in like Persona 5, you have, I'm pretty sure, anywhere between 6 and 7 characters at a time. I think that's the most that you have by the 5th dungeon. You have about 5 or 6 different characters, and you can only use 4 of them at a time. One of them isn't even technically playable. They're just kind of this helper person. You know, they're not playable, but they help you immensely, especially if you link up with them in the non-dungeon crawler aspect of the game. And I know that the same thing applies in Persona 4. You have a character that's not playable who's still a part of your team. And then I'm not sure about Persona 3, because that's, again, that's the one that I'm least familiar with. It goes from Persona 5 to 4 to 3. It goes right down the ladder, guys. But yeah, this is going to really have... I don't remember specifically how many characters, because Zen and Rei counted as one character, because they took up one slot in your party. But, I mean, I want to say that there were at least 14 characters that you could pick from in Persona Q. But you could use 5 of them in your party, and all of them were playable. You didn't have one that just helped around. You had 5 characters, that were just playable. I mean, I want to say that there were borderline 14 playable characters. Maybe 12. I feel like 12 is a safe number, but anywhere from 12 to 14, I think would just be a definite number. And I know it's around there for a fact. I'm just not sure where specifically. But yeah, and so you're gonna have 6 or 7 more characters from Persona 5. You're gonna have topping number 20 characters that are playable, which doesn't really sound like a big thing because spin-off and party games and whatnot really do have a wide range of playable characters. But yes, this is a spin-off game, but it's single player, so it's not like you have a diversity of characters to play with friends with, like in Smash Brothers or Mario Kart or Mario Tennis or anything like that. It's not like that. It's a single player spin-off game, which, I mean, is not necessarily questionable, but I want to say it's probably the least likely or the least liked kind of spin-off game, and I know I'm going to get kind of butchered for that. But I mean, when you compare it to party games like Smash Bros. Or Street Fighter or Mario Party, just party games that are single player or not party games, excuse me, spin-offs that are single player are a bit weird. And I know that Kingdom Hearts has a plethora of them. But yeah, so as for the different dungeons in Persona Q2, a Jurassic World-esque one is definitely a thing. I don't remember seeing any other things specifically. I think that we did kind of get a hint at Alien, but we do know that a lot, if not all of these dungeons are going to be movie-based, which is super, super cool. And from what I'm going to guess, it's like retro movies, or not necessarily retro, but older ones, like the original Jurassic World, not the Jurassic Park or whatever that we're getting now with Chris Pratt. I think it's just going to be the older ones. Alien is an example. I mean, there's just a plethora. Jaws is one. But yeah, so there's a handful of movies that we could sit here and talk about. I don't think that they're going to do anything too grand like a superhero movie, and if they do, it's going to be an off-brand superhero, or maybe one that Atlas owns, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think Atlas owns any superheroes. But yeah, so I don't think they're going to do anything that big, but I could see them doing it just because superheroes. But yeah, so whew, this is a really short video compared to the one that I did with David. But I mean, when you have 2 people, it's twice as long. So, but yeah, that's really about all I got. Just talking about the ideas for explorable areas, the dungeons, what the character roster is going to look like, and I mean, anything else really is just nitty-gritty speculation. Like how the characters are going to interact, how certain things are going to play out between specific characters. I remember that David and I talked about doing social links, if that would be a thing in Persona Q2. I really don't think it is, just because on how much they really are just kind of, I don't want to say copy and pasting / porting Persona Q into the 3DS with Persona 5 characters, because it's a new story, and it doesn't look like Zen and Ray are making an appearance at all. Because, yeah, I remember David saying that would be a bit weird with just how Persona Q ended. And I did spoil myself. I know how Persona Q ends. So, I mean, it doesn't look like Zen and Ray are going to be making an appearance, which is sad because I really did love them. Hopefully, this next character who just looks like this movie filmmaker girl that nobody talks to in school will be just as enjoyable. I mean, from the trailers, when you translate her dialogue into English, she really does kind of seem like this, not necessarily twisted, but for lack of a better word, this twisted individual where she's always questioning, what she's doing, how she's doing it. There is a hint that she's a bit more supernatural than she leads on to be, kind of like how Zen was eventually revealed to be in the Persona Q, and that's a spoiler, but anyway, rip. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I can really think about talking about. I'd love to talk about this in further detail with other people or in the comments below. So if you guys have anything to add, please let me know in the comments below. And yeah, so this is Jake logging out. Peace.